All right, guys, now that you are done building up your background, sorry, that is not the right one. Now that you are done previewing your existing text, we're going to start to look for repeating subtopics. So I've chosen a topic that no one else is doing to use as my example. So when we did synthesizing, my example was the Salem Witch Trials. For our nonfiction research, I've chosen something that's a little more controversial because you guys have stuff that are a little bit more controversial. I chose something also along with Fast Food Nation, and I chose to do GMOs. And so what I need to do now is the same thing you're going to do. You're going to open up your notebook, and you're going to flip through all of our notes that we're taking together. And on that last page, after backing up and growing your ideas, you're going to make a little bookmark so we can make our own research. So you're going to fold it like a triangle. I'm just going to write my research, and if you want, you can put your topic on there. So I would put GMOs. Okay, today you're going to set aside 4 pages on here, and it's just like a front and a back and a front and a back. And what I want you doing is I want you going through your topics, not your topic, your sources, to figure out what are some reoccurring subtopics you see. So I printed mine out on the event that I wasn't there with you guys today, and so I will show you what I mean by that. So here's one of my sources. It's an article from the New York Times. It's called The Battle Over GMOs. I can't really see it that one. Let me see if I can pull it up. The Battle Over GMOs. It has some graphics about it. Frankenfoods, Hungry World, We Don't Know Enough, Boon to Farmers. I have this one called Whose Genes? What's Genetic Engineering? What Can It Do? This one's called Herbicides. There's a bunch of different sciencey mumbo jumbo on it. Pros and cons. Is it time to label GMO foods? Worrying about what's in your food. Discouraging innovation. Pesticides cause fear. This one's about NASA growing potatoes on Mars. What is a gene? Allowing certain characters to be. So just kind of going through, take some time and figure out what are some subtopics. And I'm just going to say, just looking through some of mine, I already have some subtopics picked. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to where I put my research. And at the top of the first page, I'm going to write a possible subtopic. And one possible subtopic I'm going to write is kinds of GMOs. Because I'm seeing stuff about food, I'm seeing stuff about corn, I'm seeing stuff about fish. So when I'm doing my research, anything that I think has to do with kinds of GMOs, I'm going to put on this page. Another subtopic I saw popping up a lot was disagreements about GMOs. And right now you are just watching, you're not writing this in your own notebook. You will do this in a few minutes with your own topic. So I think that I'm going to see a lot of things about kinds of GMOs. I think I'm going to see some things about disagreements about GMOs. I saw some things like what GMOs are. And the last subtopic I'm going to pick is how genetic engineering works. And the way I got these was I just went through and kind of did that skimming, looking at text features, looking at pictures, sorry guys, it's late. And that's how I got my ideas. I might find stuff that doesn't go along with any of that. And you know what? I have plenty more pages here to add other subtopics if I need to. But just to start organizing my thoughts and getting a jumping off point, I'm going to go ahead and start with those 4 subtopics. So after you get 4 pages, and I know this is a lot, but I'm going to start with what my easiest one that I picked was. So I went through and numbered mine as well. And I picked this one. It's from an article called, I look like this Kiki the Penguin thing. and it says Whose Genes. Get this over this way. Whose Genes. I picked it. It's kid friendly. It's really short. I can tell by the cartoons that it's going to try to appeal to kids. There's big text, not a lot of big words. So, when you're first starting your topic, you're going to have like information overload. Same as when you start reading, a chapter book, and they start telling you a lot of information about characters and setting. When you start doing research, you're going to be reading these shorter, easier passages, and it's going to be a lot of information. Here's the thing. I don't want you reading 5 passages a day because your thoughts are going to get muddled. I only want you reading 2 things a day, whether that's a video and an article or 2 articles or 2 videos. You're only doing 2 pieces a day. So we're going to start with this. Engineering is a fancy word for building something. So genetic engineering, often just called GE, is building something with genes. Clever scientists have learned to spot which gene does what in making a new organism. Okay, so like right now, it just sounds like it's giving us a definition of what genetic engineering is. It's got something to do with how scientists build things out of your genes, and not like the genes you wear, like the genes that make up your genetics. They're like those tiny parts that determine like your hair color, whether you're tall or short, whether you're like really good at sports like me or not so good at them like Miss French, that sort of thing. They found out that simple organisms like bacteria or viruses often have genes which are useful because they can be snipped out and spliced into plant genes. Doing this could give the plant special new abilities like resisting diseases. Okay, well, I'm already learning a lot. I'm learning that like genetic engineering is actually when you're taking genes from one thing and putting them into another. And that's kind of not what I thought it was. I don't know where I thought the special powers came from, but I just knew it was something they did to mess around with food. I do wonder, is that a good idea or not? Because I've read Frankenstein before, and when they took like a brain out of one body and put it into a monster's body, it didn't have good results. So I'm kind of seeing that word Frankenfoods. I think it came up in this article. I see the connection they're making and why that might be a concern. Let's keep reading to find out. But this can be rather like grabbing a scorpion that can't nip you with its claws. You know it's safe to handle since its claws can't reach you, but ow, it's got a sting in its tail you didn't know about. There may be a sting in the tail which comes from splicing strange genes into other organisms, from viruses to plants, for example. No one can quite be certain what will happen. It's unpredictable. Genes can do unexpected and unintended things, and nobody can ever be quite sure of what. So it's wise to be very careful. Okay, there was definitely, I only read, I'm sorry, I didn't turn that over for you. I only read 1 paragraph, but it felt like it really changed its tone. It started out being like, oh yeah, genetic engineering, it can do great things. It can make things useful. I see the word useful. I see special abilities. But then as I read on, I started to see some vocabulary that had a negative or like a ominous connotation, where it's like you're not certain, it's unpredictable, it's strange, unexpected. So I feel like this author is doing a good job of staying unbiased, meaning that they're not really taking one side or another. They're just trying to give me the information that's out there. That's a good sign because it means I can pretty much trust what I'm reading. Sometimes when we read an article, you can kind of see that the author really favors one side versus another, and that's something to remember because their views might impact the information that they're giving you. All right, let's read on. What can genetic engineering do? Genetically modified organisms, GMOs, which are mostly plants, are mostly transgenic, which means they contain genes pinched from something else like bacteria, viruses, other plants, or even animals. By snipping a gene which does something useful from one organism and splicing it into another, say a crop plant, scientists can get the plant to grow bigger or faster or make more for people to eat. Or the plant could be made into more nutritious with protein or minerals or vitamins. Some crop plants can be made to grow in salty water or very little water, good for very dry countries. Others could be engineered to resist disease, which could protect kids against nasty illnesses like polio or measles. Okay, I feel like I'm really learning a lot. When I am talking and I'm writing and thinking about my subject, I want to make sure I'm using words that the author uses because that word spliced keeps coming up. So I know that's going to be an important vocabulary word. So I want to make sure I'm using that when I'm writing my own notes because it's going to help me understand bigger articles. So now that I've gotten a sense of my topic, what I need to do is I need to go through, I know there's a little more left, but I'm going to leave that for right now. When I finish reading my article, I'm going to read it again. I read it once to get the gist, and then I go back through and read it another time in order to get information. And as I'm reading, I want to pull out what are 2 or 3. I would normally go 2 based on like how many headings they have. So like for each heading, you want to pull out a main thought or idea or something that stuck out at you to put in your notebook. You're going to number it. So like this, I had numbered 1. You guys numbered your own articles on that document. Whichever one you numbered 1, when you write your Post-its, you're going to want to make sure you put the number 1. So 2 weeks from now, when we're talking about these things, you know where you found that information. So I pulled 2 things out of this article. The first thing I said was that GMOs can be used to make food that makes us better or grows easier. What I need to do is figure out where in the world am I going to put that on in my notebook. Does it go with the subtopic kinds of GMOs? Does it go with the subtopic disagreements about GMOs? What GMOs are? Or how genetic engineering works? This particular one, I think, goes with what GMOs are. It's telling me that GMOs are used to make food that makes us better or grows easier. Now, the other thing I wrote is that there can be dangers we don't know about when it comes to GMOs. If I'm looking, I need to decide. Oops, I forgot to label that with a 1. It's not really talking about how it works. It's not really talking about what it is. It's kind of talking about the disagreements or like what the debate is about GMOs. It's not telling me the kind of GMOs. So I'm going to go through and put this here. Now, earlier in the last video, I told you, you may get confused and there may be some places where you're not sure where to put something. It's okay. Get your information down, make sure you write the number article you got it from, and put it where you think it fits best. This is a learning experience. This is the first lesson. It's a lot I'm throwing at you. I'm not there to help you through it. So it's okay to be confused. And even if you wanted to just like start a 5th paragraph or a 5th paper as soon as you read and you're like, none of these fit my subtopics, start that other page. Do whatever makes it easier for you to organize your thoughts and get some thoughts down. So by the end of the lesson today, I want you guys to have 2 Post-its, or 3, or 4, depending on how, you guys actually not 2. You should have 4 or so, because you should read 2 things in your notebook that have to do with your topic. Make sure you put the number of the article you got it from. Make sure you put it under one of those subcategories that you think are going to be part of your research. Okay. So, to sum up, you guys have previewed your text. Now you're building up your background knowledge by identifying repeating subtopics and doing some jots. If you need to borrow Post-its, please go to the pink drawers and get 4 or 5 Post-its and put the rest of the Post-its back in. You do not need a whole pack of Post-its, and my fear is, since I am not there, if you all take a Post-it pad back to your desk, there will be none left for tomorrow, and I am not there to replenish them. So please only take 4. Don't take a ton. You don't need them all. When you're finished with this, I want you to put your notebook back in your book box, and you're going to go up to the teacher, whoever is in the room right now, and you're going to get your writing assignment. Your writing assignment is a bunch of like short passages with multiple choice questions, and then there's a writing assignment on the last page. You're working on that. If you're in Miss French's classroom, you might get it before lunch, you might get it after lunch, depending on when you finish. You're going to work on it until it's time to go. If you don't finish, you will finish it another time. If you do finish, turn it in with your name, and you can independent read in your books, or if you have Hoopla or Overdrive or something like that you're reading from, that is okay as well. All right, guys, if you have questions, you can send me an email or ask questions on the Google Classroom. I will check that tonight. All right, thanks.